Awesome. So obviously, we're all here to talk TestFit Industrial. We just released this last week. It's our newest configurator out of 15 or 17 now, and we're really excited
Recording is
about
in
it. So
progress.
just to give you a
If you
little
have any
background,
questions
my
throughout
name's
the
Matt
presentation,
MacDonald.
feel free to
I'm
send them
product
to us on
owner
the
of
Q&A portion
TestFit Industrial.
of Zoom webinars,
And
and we'll
Jack
be answering them
is
live on
with me
chat,
as
and we'll
well.
also be
He's
putting some
director of
to Matt live
sales
at the
and
end.
has a bunch of
So without
experience
further
with
ado, I'm going to
architecture
hand
and
over to
urban
these
planning
guys.
as well. And Alexine is also
Alexine.
here. Let me just share my screen and we can get this. So just to give you a little background about TestFit, if you haven't heard of us. All right, can everyone see that all right? We are founded and headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We're spread out across the US and the globe. Our initial product release was in October 2017, so we've been around for almost 4 years now, a little over 4 years. We had a seed round back in January 2020. We've helped the industry solve about 20,000 buildings in 2020 and have about 6,000 users. Just a quick poll. I'm really interested to see kind of what people are working on, whether it's developing, architecture, design, whatever. So if you don't mind selecting the answers for the 2 questions that pop up, that would be great. It'll allow us to kind of curate this more towards who's actually listening.
Just give it a little bit longer, like 80% answered, for the rest of you in another meeting. There we go, 86%, 88, 90. All right, we'll end it there.
Okay, cool. So we have some new users to TestFit that haven't used it yet, and the large majority of you are doing industrial, which is great. It also looks like you're using multifamily and office a bit, and hotels, which are some of our other configurators. So to start, we really want to share our mission, and our mission is to democratize intelligent building design. And we most commonly do this with our configurators. So the way we think that we can democratize intelligent building design is by taking the design knowledge of particular building typologies and codifying that in TestFit. So we have over a dozen configurators now, ranging from high density multifamily to industrial, hotels, office, and massing. So this is how we at TestFit are bringing or democratizing intelligent building design.
Oh, now we've lost your sound. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you there? Okay, cool. So TestFit Industrial has not been something that we just jumped on right now. We did have a very quick turnaround for the development and the beta of it, thanks to a lot of feedback from our customers. But really, we've been looking at this market for the past year and a half or 2. Initially, this started back right as the pandemic started, or slightly before it, where we actually saw one of these industrial buildings, and it was fascinating to see, that these are all pretty standard tilt-up wall type construction. But we basically waited on it for a little bit. We heard a lot of customer requests about it, but not until recently this summer, we decided, hey, we're actually jumping into this. There's a big unmet need here that we think we can address with TestFit. And so this fall, we basically started that development and released it in last week. So the reason we got into it was, a few reasons. The biggest was supply isn't meeting demand right now. Warehouse demand is going to be greater than 300 million square feet annually for the next 3 years. And absorptions are outpacing construction by 50 to 100 million square feet this year. So there's something in this process that we need more supply, but we just can't do it. So we think TestFit is going to be one of those things that helps that. Another is the industry has incredibly fast construction times. So you can basically build some of these buildings in 6 months to a year, which is insanely fast. And if you're looking at a feasibility study from a consultant or a handful of consultants, that it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to do that, that's a large percentage of that time, and even more so than multifamily, where that development can take 3 or so years or more. Another thing that really excited us about industrial is that it's pretty standardized. There's a pretty simple logic to it for the most part. It's usually, let's get the largest building on the site that we can, use tilt-up wall construction, steel columns, joists, and that kind of thing. So this is why we thought, okay, this is a great market to get into. Let's get as much feedback as we can from customers to build this. And so that's where we had the beta program. So basically we gave the beta version of TestFit to a bunch of you all and previous customers and new customers, and basically asked what is missing in this? What can be better? So basically through that, we refined this product down to a very core concept of what you need as a developer, architect, civil engineer even, to configure a industrial site. So in the first round, it was pretty standard stuff like industry terminology, kind of rules of thumb, developed by the NAIOP, which previously is the National Association of Industrial and Office Parks, I believe. Round 2 was recognizing that parking ratios are important for cities. Usually these ratios are set by the cities, so you want to make sure you're meeting them, but at the same time maximizing everything else on the site. Your tilt-up walls are always going to be snapping to the grid. You don't want to make a tilt-up wall that's half of a wall. And round 3, we got into some more precision things, like ring roads aren't that common around the site. There are other ways to do egress. Detention, retention ponds are really important because they can be sized by a percentage of the total site. And it's important that they're movable given the grade of the site. And big sites are really common. We heard, the average site may be 40 acres, 50 acres or something. But there's also plenty of sites that are 100 acres or more with multiple buildings, or buildings that are like 1.5 million square feet. So we basically wanted to provide this value to you. We wanted the speed and flexibility of options to make your deal work. We didn't want you to have to wait 2 to 3 weeks. We wanted to, determine the largest building on the site. Like, that's the main purpose of most of these industrial buildings, is how much you can fit on there. Same with multifamily, right? Like, you want to get as dense of a site as possible. We want to calculate if your deal pencils. We want to allow you to put all your finances into TestFit. Reuse company presets and prototypical buildings. So in the demo, I'll show you how we can actually basically lock the building dimensions so that you can use prototypical buildings throughout the site if you'd like. Meet your car and trailer parking. All of this was developed with NIOP design guidelines so that it's actually going to work for those trucks. And the last thing was we wanted to give you quantities so that you could start your construction estimate or cost estimation process. So let me share my other screen.
Best part, demos, right?
Yeah, time for a live demo, which, you know, sometimes doesn't go well, but we'll give it a try. So if anyone hasn't seen this, this is TestFit. It's a desktop app. It's not on the web. You install it just like you would any other program. And yeah, it's really quick. Sorry, I'm just reorienting my screen here. There we go. Yeah, so this is TestFit. I've already pulled up a site here just so that I know where I want to show this, but if you did want to find a site anywhere in the world, you can type it in here in the address and it'll pull it up. You can have different overlays, so roads, but I prefer aerial for industrial. And then we'll click on this flashing plus sign to actually start our site. So we'll click here and let's see, let me move that down a little bit. Okay. So this is all of our configurators here. So if you want to do high density multifamily, here's all of our configurators: lower density, core-based office, garden apartments. Mass-based is, you know, more forms or retail, and then industrial. So here are all the presets that we have. I'll show a few of these throughout this, but I'll just start with this max building single loaded. So what this is going to do is try and place the largest building possible on the site. So you can have multiple ways of putting in the site boundary. So you can either just draw it, you can put in your meets and bounds, and you can also define from parcels. So anywhere in the US, we have parcel data. But for now, I'm just going to do by boundary. Okay, there we go. So instantly, you know, within a few seconds, you have a site. All of your information, all your tabulating information is down here. So your acreage of your site, your FAR, your total coverage, the green space. I'll just move this pond around a little bit so that you can see that all of this is tabulating in real time. Here are the number of bays you have, the freight area, all the zero parking stalls right now. But anyway, so we have created the largest building we can on this site. Now, if we click on the building, you'll see all these different parameters. The easiest way to kind of change what the entire site looks like is by changing this warehouse axis, which will kind of rotate what boundary line that is aligning to. But let's just put it around here for now, and we'll move that around. So as you can see, you can have multiple buildings on the site. So the reason it placed this building here was it said, okay, so it placed this largest building first, and then it actually said, oh, there's some green space here. And if you look at these 4 parameters here, this is actually dictating how your min and max building size. So this is saying it can be a max of 80 bays deep. It can be a max of 80 bays wide, and a minimum of 2 and a minimum of 2 deep. So if we didn't want this building here, if we said that's actually too small of a building for this site, you could just adjust these up until it's gone. But for now, let's keep it there to maximize the site. So we have ways to put single buildings on, multiple buildings, and we also have prototypical buildings. So I'll go back to our presets here. And what this is we can select this preset, and this is going to place a building on the site that's a prototypical 10 bays deep, 15 bays wide. So if we click on the building again, we can see what all we're doing here to make a prototypical building is locking the min and max to be the same same bay dimension. So let's say we actually wanted a prototypical building that was, let's say 10 by 6. We can now save this as another preset. And we can actually test on that site. Okay, we have the 10 by 15 works, but so does the 6 by 10. And actually the 6 by 10 gets us, has less area, but you could have 2 tenants or anything like that. You can also start splitting up sites with these prototypical buildings so that you can get them smaller and smaller, or more efficient. So what we can do is say, we'll use a road in this case. We'll just draw it right down the middle. It's being a little tricky. But you could start breaking that up to, try and get more and more of those prototypical buildings in there. It's a little tight there, but if that were to come down a little bit, that would be close. So anyway, let's go back to a single loaded max building. I'll go through these parameters really quick just to show what's driving this building. So this change axis we already talked about. You can define your different bay dimensions. So we have speed bays here, which are pretty standard. So that first bay will want to be, 75 or 80 feet long. You can adjust that. You have your normal bay width and depth. The building min and max sizes. Green buffer is around the buildings if that's necessary. But one of the more important ones here is this cross-loaded one, which if we click on that, it's now going to add a dock on the back side of each building. And then, of course, all your dock doors, dock depths, you can manually adjust, although these are already set to NAIOP standard values. So once we have that, we can manipulate ponds. So what ponds are a very cool new tool in TestFit, which basically this pond is being sized as a percentage of the total site area. So as you adjust that, or as you reduce the size of the site, you can see that this pond is actually reducing in size. I'm sorry if I've missed any questions on the side. Hopefully some people have been picking those up.
Doing great.
Awesome, cool. So yeah, ponds are really powerful. Basically, as you drag this, it's going to keep that percentage of the site, but just give you a different dimension. So, if you want it to be more square to put in the corner, you can do that, place it there. You can also add another pond by coming over here, clicking the add button and click a pond. So then if you needed 10% total, if you set both of these to 5, you can now, kind of kitty corner those in the side there, something like that.
Yeah, you ready for some questions?
Yeah, throw them at me.
Sweet. We got a couple questions about how to adjust your setbacks and where are they coming from. I can take the where they're coming from. So right now they're all inputs driven by you. We're not pulling zoning data just yet, but that can kind of show you how we're able to adjust each one independently.
Yeah, so each one can be adjusted independently just by going to the property line and grabbing this setback and pulling. You can also adjust them on all the edges by coming over to here, saying, let's set it to 0, apply to all, and that's going to apply to all of the edges. Any other questions yet?
Yeah, so another question about how do we export this model to different visualization software? And then specifically looking at different rendering engines. So maybe you want to show what we can do.
Yeah. So let's see, 2, 3, or 4 weeks ago now, we actually integrated with Enscape. Enscape is a real-time rendering engine. So let me make sure I can, I'll share my full screen now. Can you see that, Jack?
I'm seeing just your TestFit screen right now on your desktop. So close.
Okay, perfect. That's it. That's what I want.
Perfect.
Okay, so basically, in order to get a visualized rendering of this, and I mean, I should first start with our 3D view. You know, it's not the prettiest there. Actually, let me put in parking real quick, and then I'll do a render. So then we can see some trees in there as well. So if we want to edit parking, we can just go up to here. Say we want, you know, 1 stall per 1,000 square feet of warehouse space. And we'll also add, oops. Let's do this.
Getting tossed into another realm. I can answer another question while we're doing this as well. So we've gotten a couple of questions about exporting. So TestFit's base level exports, we can go directly into SketchUp, DXF to get into any CAD software. We can export your data to a CSV file. And then we can also run through Dynamo, thanks to Matt, to hop right into Revit for all of our different configurators. So a lot of different options in there. And we get the question a lot about getting into Rhino. People have found success running through the SketchUp export as of right now.
Nice. Yeah. Sorry. Give me a second while this
Yeah, of course.
this comes back up.
Ooh, more good questions. Is there a plan to include earthwork elevations in the configurator? Absolutely, Jordan. Yeah, so that's definitely on our roadmap in order to bring in different topography and that sort of thing. But more to come from us on that end.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm just able to get that back from my windows. Okay, so we added some parking in here. We added some freight stalls in there. Let's make the building min a little larger. So then there we go.
Nice.
So yeah, so whoever asked the question about visualizing it, you can obviously see your 3D view here. But if you go into rendering, we've partnered with Enscape. You can just hit launch here, and you will have a 3D render in 10 seconds or so, maybe less. Yep, there we go. So if you can see that, oops. We've put in Enscape's trailer truck assets. So you have all of those. You have trees, cars. You can also even adjust the car density to increase that. We've really given you a great way to visualize your deal and to sell it to either internal team members or external cities.
Nice. Matt, we're getting a couple questions on parking and the few different variations on it, but can we do parking not just on the sides of the buildings? Can we do it elsewhere?
Yeah, so right now, and we've had a few different versions of parking. Right now, it will automatically be placed on the side. We also recognize this is mostly a cross-loaded situation. So you normally cross-load this building, have parking on the sides here. But we've also heard feedback saying that people just want the entire site to be parking with an industrial building on top. or you know, they only want it in the back, or they want it on the sides and the back. We haven't implemented that yet, but let us know which you would prefer, and we can certainly take that into account.
Nice. Let's go over the deals tab too. We're getting a few questions on what type of data we're able to put in there, and see what that kind of looks like.
Cool. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to switch back my share screen to just TestFit so I can make sure I'm getting everything in view.
Fantastic.
Okay, so deals tab. Basically, we want you to be able to put all your money into TestFit, or all your costs, be it hard, soft, or land, to be able to come up with these values here. So right now, I'll just show you the output. So if you look at this bottom here, you know, we have some geometry here like net rentable square feet, but we're also taking your revenue into account, expenses, costs, and then getting yield on cost, cap rate, and value. So as you see, as we move this, you are getting all those updates. To edit that, basically what you can do is go up to the deal here. This is your deal editor. So you can save any of these. So, you know, let's say it's, you know, $21 a square foot for land, soft costs are 30, and then these are all hard costs here. So green space, warehouse roof, light loaded pavement, heavy loaded pavement, you can all assign different values to. And then your different revenues, operating expense, and set your cap rate. And then once you save that, so let's say, once we save that, we can always come back to that here, or we can always switch it to something else. You know, if you have a different pro forma for different industrial types. One thing I didn't touch on yet was easements. So obviously, sometimes you have power lines going through your site, anything else like that. So what we've done is we've made easements, which is basically a custom polygon tool that you can move around. You can rotate, and anything within that site will try to avoid that easement. Yeah.
Nice. Matt, can we also look at what zoning metrics we can track within TestFit too? We're getting questions about lot coverage and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So when you select zoning up here, you can obviously do any of your setbacks here, but you can also set different metrics. So this is basically a pass-fail metric. So you can say, you know, your FAR has to be above, what's that right now? Let me cheat a little bit. You know, 0.15 right now. Let's add that metric. And you can see that FAR over here is higher than what we want. Oh, maybe I should say that's the min of it. So right now we're meeting our FAR. And then if you drag something, you know, move it around so that maybe that reduces below it, then this will basically turn red and say you're not meeting your FAR.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. You know, there's a lot of questions we didn't necessarily get to just yet, but we'll circle back with everyone as well. Also, feel free if you'd like to have a little bit more in-depth discussion with us. Alexine has been posting the forms in the chat, so you guys can hop on there or hop to our website as well and book a demo with us, so we can answer all your questions a little bit more personally. But thanks, Matt. This is great.
Cool. Yeah. So check out the demo link in the chat to talk to us. And there's also a knowledge-based article and a feature video on our YouTube if you'd like to check that out more. So yeah, thanks a lot, everyone, for coming, and have a great day.